right, everybody. The worst is coming to pass. As expected, as we were warned, because, to be clear, Donald Trump and his cronies had always projected, or not projected, they always telegraphed their plans. Their plan of attack was always telegraphed. Project 2025 was always a thing. Trump's associations with its writing and those plans was always public and known. We warned that if Trump wins, Project 2025 will happen, and they denied it. They said, oh, I have no idea what Project 2025 is. I have no idea what that is. I'm not in favor of it, but I don't know what it is. But I'm not in favor of it, though. But I have no idea. I've never even heard of it. But I'm not in favor of it. Very blatant, very telegraphed. And now that Donald Trump is in office, he is going through with everything we expected with Project 2025. And one of the biggest and most unprecedented moves is his unconstitutional goal of destroying birthright citizenship. For those that don't know, in America, we have, for as long as America's been a thing as far as I know, we've had the rule that if you were born on American soil, then you are American. That is how it works. It is why I'm an American citizen, because I was born in America, as were my parents, but still, my citizenship was automatic because I was born in America. And now Trump wants to get rid of birthright citizenship. Now, obviously, I wouldn't lose my citizenship, but I am curious, like, how the fuck is this going to go through without eliminating the citizenship of most Americans whose citizenship was just guaranteed by their being born here? Like, how is that going to work? Is it just going to be for immigrants? We'll have to find out. Or kids of immigrants? We'll have to see. That can only be changed by changing the Constitution. Well, Donald Trump put an executive order through, and it has been blocked by the courts. But Trump is, of course, still fighting this. And the matter of fact is, will Donald Trump win? Will he still get what he wants anyway? This is our first big litmus test of if there really are guardrails to stop Donald Trump from doing the insane things he's promised. If he can get this through, he can get everything through. This story, we need to watch carefully. This story is our litmus test. If any way, shape, or form Donald Trump manages to go through with destroying birthright citizenship, he can do everything. Keep that in mind.
The Trump administration is reportedly giving immigrations and customs enforcement officials authority to quickly deport migrants who were allowed into the U.S. temporarily under Biden-era programs.
Apparently, the raids are so frequent and have gotten so bad that migrant workers aren't coming to work, and farmers are posting videos of their crops spoiling in the field and talking about how, look at this, no one's coming in. No one to pick these grapes. No one to pick these tomatoes. You're going to expect this shit to get more expensive. Like, this is like a good old boy farmer. You know, he's got like his $200,000 John Deere in the background. He's like, this shit's about to get more expensive. 20, 30% at least. Mark my words, okay? Listen to your fucking farmers, all right? They know what they're talking about. Expect these prices to skyrocket. Everything is about to get more expensive. The farmers are coming out to say, we've got no workers. We've got no one to harvest the fields. The crops are rotting on the vines and on the plants and on the ground. No one, there's just not enough work. There's not enough labor resources to guarantee low prices on these things. The inflation is coming, and it's coming fast. And the farmers are the first to, well, the economists were the first to warn us. The farmers are the second to warn us. It is coming, guys. It's going to be bad.
According to a memo obtained by the New York Times, this move could impact more than 1 million people who fled from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti, and potentially impact immigrants from Afghanistan and Ukraine. Meantime, as we mentioned earlier, a federal judge temporarily blocked Trump's executive order attempting to end birthright citizenship in the U.S. The judge put in place a 14-day restraining order. The Justice Department also responded, saying in part, quote, it will vigorously defend President Trump's EO, which correctly interprets the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. That's a direct quote there. See,
the argument is going to be that Donald Trump is not countering the American Constitution. He's being constitutional. It's just gaslighting. And the Department of Justice is now Trump's Department of Justice. They'll help him gaslight.
CBS News immigration and politics reporter Camilo Montoya Galvez joins us now with more on this. Camilo, this is significant. What might the next steps be in this case? We're wondering if it will get...
People who came here legally are now illegally here. That was always the plan. Remember, one of Donald Trump's biggest talking points was that he loves legal immigration. They're all for legal immigration, but what they don't add is that once they have power, there won't be legal routes of immigration. All immigration will be illegal, and all immigrants will be illegals. So when they say they love legal immigration, that doesn't necessarily mean I love immigration. They would never say that.
To the Supreme Court.
Good morning, Errol. The federal judge in Seattle who denounced this bid by President Trump to upend the longstanding interpretation of the Constitution by trying to deny birthright citizenship to certain children who are born here really delivered an early setback for the Trump administration's immigration agenda, but this will not be the final say in this legal battle under the Trump administration. We know that this ruling, as you underscored, is temporary in nature, and the judge in Seattle still has to adjudicate a request for a more permanent block on this bid by President Trump to upend birthright citizenship. So that case has still to be adjudicated. But if there's any indication that the judge will side with Democratic-led states, that is likely to be the outcome given his strong rhetoric against the order in that hearing today, yesterday rather. But it is really important to note that for now, the federal agencies that were instructed, Errol, to deny birthright citizenship to the children of parents who are in the country illegally, as well as those who are here on temporary visas, are now blocked from enforcing that guidance. So for now, that attempt to upend the longstanding interpretation of the Constitution has been halted.
Wow. So what then is the status?
I think what we're going to see over the next 4 years is a massive realization from a lot of people how flimsy the idea of this can't happen because of this guardrail is going to, like, people are going to realize that's a fantasy, and that our government is controlled by people, and right now it's nothing but yes men for Trump. And it doesn't matter what the Constitution says anymore. All it takes is for the right judge to come to a conclusion that Trump's interpretation, quote unquote, of the Constitution is a viable one. It's not about whether the Constitution is wrong and they're going to stricken birthright citizenship. They're going to make the case that the Constitution has been incorrectly interpreted and that a new interpretation should be considered the precedent, and we would then operate on that precedent. That is clearly his plan. The same way that he gained immunity from crimes committed while he is in office.
Of the mass deportations Trump has been promising, where in the country might this be happening?
Well, of course, President Donald Trump made this promise of carrying out the largest deportation in American history, a central pillar to his campaign for president. And he is saying that that operation will indeed be carried out. We have seen an uptick, Errol, in ICE enforcement operations across the country, including in cities with so-called sanctuary policies that limit cooperation with federal.
This has been happening a lot in California, the big raids and everything. They have federal jurisdiction. So not even the blue states can protect you if you're an immigrant or someone that Trump is targeting. When it comes to ICE and deportation, they are raiding Californian cities. They are raiding these sanctuary cities, as they call them. That's actually where they're focusing the most of their attention.
Deportation agents, but they appear to be, for the most part, routine operations, Errol, so far, that target migrants who are in the country illegally, but who also have criminal histories. The big change now here from a policy perspective, Errol, is that ICE agents during these operations can now arrest people who are non-criminals, who are not the targets of these operations, but who are otherwise in the country illegally. So these are known as collateral arrests. They can now happen during these operations. That is a major shift in policy because the Biden administration...
Wait, what? Hold on. Hold on. Let me re-listen to that really fast, because if I heard that right, that's a huge fucking deal and really bad. Hold on.
People who are non-criminals, who are not the targets of these operations, but who are otherwise operation with federal deportation agents, but they appear to be, for the most part, routine operations, Errol, so far, that target migrants who are in the country illegally, but who also have criminal histories. The big change now here from a policy perspective, Errol, is that ICE agents during these operations can now arrest people who are non-criminals, who are not the targets of these operations, but who are otherwise in the country illegally. So,
like Trump said, they were going to start with the criminals and then move on to the others. Trump's quote, one of the most famous Trump quotes about this plan, was that they would start with the criminals and move on from there, implying that it was never about getting those criminal illegals out that we're so fear-mongered about, that was just the start. That was just the most popular wedge to get people on board with mass deportations on. But the reality was, what they always stood for was mass deportations. And it's crazy to see how many Latinos, those who are even citizens due to birthright citizenship, voted for Trump. There's been a lot of regret, but just as much as there's been regret, there are now considered illegal immigrants in America right now who voted for Trump and now their citizenship is being fought against by Trump, and they still stand by voting for Trump because they say that if they get deported, then it's just Trump doing what's best for America. They're so cucked that they're fine if they get deported because they bought so much into it, they think that their existence in the country is hurting it. Zan, they arrested a veteran who had his military ID on him and just said they don't believe it's real. Oh, yeah. Veterans are gonna... Listen, there are countless kids of immigrants in the military, okay? Like, holy fuck, are there a lot of kids of immigrants in the military. They are going to be severely disrespected, and we're going to watch as the right makes excuses for why they don't deserve the respect that every other veteran deserves, right? Or I should clarify, white male veterans deserve.
These are known as collateral arrests. They can now happen during these operations. That is a major shift in policy because the Biden administration had generally limited immigration enforcement to serious criminals, national security threats, and people who recently were crossing the U.S.-Mexico border. And finally, ICE can also now go into schools and churches to arrest certain unauthorized immigrants because the trouble is...
Yep, they've been raiding schools and churches, too. They have been.
Administration ended what the Biden administration called a prohibition on arrests in so-called sensitive locations, Errol.
All right, a comprehensive review of all that's happening on that front. Camilo Montoya Galvez, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we have this detail for you. ICE confirms its agents conducted a, quote, targeted enforcement operation, end quote, at a worksite in Newark, New Jersey. Surveillance...
They're arresting anyone with a Latino name or Latino skin tone, brown. Dude. I've got some stuff to show. Don't worry. This is not the only bit we're watching for this segment.
This video shows what appears to be federal immigration agents taking a man into custody outside the Ocean Seafood Depot. The owner says agents arrived yesterday unannounced and asked to see documentation of his employees. He tells CBS News New York's Ali Bauman 3 people were taken into custody.
They didn't have a court order I didn't even ask. 26 years in business, I've never seen anything like this.
Newark's mayor says ICE's actions here were in violation of the Fourth Amendment. He claims one of the detainees is a U.S. military.
They're also detaining Native Americans, yes. ICE has been detaining, and apparently Trump wants to deport Native Americans as well. This has been like one of the more radical sides of this as well. Trump has been using the military too. Videos come out of the military loading immigrants onto giant military planes to fly to deport. Here is an image, one such image. Trump threatens Colombia after the president rejects military deportation flights. So for those who don't know, Trump has been loading up suspected immigrants. None of these people are getting like a trial or anything. Rounding them up, putting them on planes, and sending them seemingly to Colombia. Now, God knows if any of these people are actually from there, but the president of Colombia has rejected the military deportation flights. And because of that, Trump is now putting tariffs on Colombian exports, which is about to make coffee so much more expensive. They are also detaining Arab Americans and African Americans. They're detaining black people too. That's actually kind of ironic considering I saw a post earlier where it was a conservative black guy saying, why are there black people on this app complaining about Trump deporting Latinos? Do you think they'd be complaining about us getting deported if the roles were reversed? Like, black conservative trying to do that, like, bullshit, like, brainwashing, like, right-wing black Twitter shit. I assume you guys have seen this. Like, especially if you've been to black Twitter, you've seen, like, the clear conservative, like, psyop attempts to, like, create some kind of race war bullshit from the colorism. Oh my god, the fucking colorism, dude. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you're probably not American, super tapped into race, but it's a big fucking problem. There is a lot of, like, colorism is really the best term for it. Homophobia, weird conspiracy theories, weird, like, psyop claims trying to convince black Americans that the Democrats are the real racists, trying to stoke black Twitter into hating Latinos, this kind of shit. Dude, Twitter is a cesspit, and it's not just a cesspit if you're a white guy, okay? They are trying to radicalize everyone on there from every angle with every talking point, okay? It's awful. It's fucking horrible. Like, it's bad, dude. So, like, yeah, it's funny how the talking point was, what, would Latinos be calling it out if black people were getting deported? And it's like, well, it turns out racists don't care what race you are if it's not white. They want you gone or dead, and so they're not making the distinction. It's like, it's wild to watch as these grifters actively cover Trump targeting their very identity.
President Trump says he's directing his administration to take immediate action against Colombia's president and his supporters, including tariffs, a travel ban, and visa sanctions. The move comes after Colombia denied entry to 2 C-17 military planes carrying undocumented immigrants, forcing the planes to turn around midair.
Allegedly undocumented immigrants. Remember, no trial. They're fast-tracking this whole process. These people are suspected of illegal immigration. It's only a matter of time before we start hearing the stories of documented American citizens who got deported in another country being like, how the fuck do I get back to America? Am I, like, not an American anymore? Because right now I'm in a country I was deported to illegally. I'm actually an illegal immigrant in a country I was deported from my home country of America to. What the fuck do I do? That is going to happen because of this. They are not holding trial. They are not investigating. It is suspicion, handcuffs, and you know how Trump is rolling all of this, just getting them straight onto these planes and deported.
Colombian President Gustavo Petro said Sunday that the U.S. cannot treat migrants as criminals, and that Colombia would accept migrants on civilian planes. The news comes just days after the White House posted these images of migrants boarding a C-17 for deportation, with the Trump administration hailing the move as a promise kept.
We're getting the bad, hard criminals out.
2 flights carrying migrants landed in Guatemala City on Friday, but a planned flight to Mexico was blocked by the Mexican government last week. And Brazil's foreign ministry on Sunday called the process a degrading treatment of the Brazilians deported from the U.S. The State Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment.
They're not sending any of these people to their country of origin. or their family's country of origin. Like, they're going to be sending Brazilians to fucking Colombia and Mexicans to fucking Panama or whatever, okay? Like, it's going to be a nightmare. Like, to be clear, Donald Trump's big, like, focus has been Mexico and Colombia, primarily, in terms of fear-mongering for immigration. The idea was that the caravan, remember the migrant caravan that was going to come and destroy America? And it was like years, like a year plus of like, the migrant caravan, it's coming. We got to shore up the border. They're coming. Hundreds of thousands strong, millions strong. They're coming. They were supposed to be from Colombia. That never happened. It wasn't real, but they were supposed to be from Colombia. So Colombia is one of the big talking points. And then because of the Mexican cartel issue, Trump has been able to fearmonger a lot with border state people who are terrified of the cartels, with the narrative of like, we're going to go in there, we're going to shut down these cartels. Because to be fair, if you live in those border areas, like, you're kind of scared of those fucking cartels. I lived in Southern California, and I was like, I would never be targeted by a cartel, but I really don't want to be. Like, I know what those guys do to people they don't like. I hope I'm not one of the people they don't like.
ICE told the Journal that it plans to use the military planes to increase deportations. But some are questioning whether the use of military aircraft is necessary, since the U.S. has been using passenger planes like these for years to deport migrants.
Well, the goal is to be able to do it fast, and they don't care. These are not people to them. This is the American people finally getting to see these migrants treated like the animals they see them as. A lot of Americans are cheering when they see these videos. This is what they've always wanted. They've had a dream they thought they might never see come to fruition achieved when they get to see images like this. They never thought this would actually get to happen. Like, this is like winning the lottery for a lot of them. And yet they're still so bitter. I mentioned this before. Yet for a lot of them, this finally happening, like, they finally got their way. It's like winning the lottery. It was so unlikely. I don't think most of them even believed they could do it and that it could happen. And it is. And they're still so bitter and angry.
So here's what we know. The C-17 is a large Air Force plane that's typically used to transport troops and cargo, like this tank. While the Air Force says it's designed to hold about 100 paratroopers with their gear, it can also carry more than 800 passengers if needed, as seen here during the U.S. evacuation from Afghanistan.
Yeah, there was like videos where you had Afghans like clinging onto the wings in the landing gear as the planes were taking off. This is one of my big criticisms of Biden, actually. People love to frame me as like a Biden dick rider, but they actually attacked the shit out of me the one time I criticized the fuck out of Biden. And that was for not stopping Trump's pull out of Afghanistan. And I feel like nowadays people have forgotten all the videos of like Afghans like World War Z-ing onto these planes to try and get out of the country before the Taliban took over Kabul and they were forced to live under Taliban rule. It's like, yeah, man, it wasn't a good move. We fucked that shit up bad. That was a Biden L right there. And everybody that was the thing they liked that Biden did, but it was a massive L. The one case where I'm mad about Biden doing something, it's the one thing where everyone thinks Biden did a good thing. But it's objectively a case where Biden did a bad thing. We should have stayed. We had like 15 dudes or something on the ground in Afghanistan. We had like no people there. We were just training Afghanistan's actual like installed by us military soldiers. So like the idea was that our people being there served as good training, obviously. And it also served as a deterrent from the Taliban invading Kabul and causing the country to fall, which of course was immediately proven when within 2 days of the U.S. pulling out of Afghanistan, Kabul fell to the Taliban. Instantly. But we're not talking about that right now. It's just, it came up, I had to talk about it. There was a big thing a while ago. It involves the whole, like, people criticizing me saying, you like everything Biden does. I criticize something Biden does, and they're like, okay, wait, that's the one thing I like that he did.
On Friday, 2 C-17s with about 80 migrants each arrived in Guatemala City from Texas and Arizona. As for the price tag, the Department of Defense says the C-17 costs about $20,000 an hour to operate. That's more than double a typical repatriation flight, which costs about $8,500 an hour, according to ICE.
Listen, someone tried to explain the numbers to Trump at some point, and you know he told them to shut the fuck up and fired the guy before he could finish his sentence.
Both President Trump and his border czar Tom Homan have pledged to use the U.S. military to enforce immigration laws, and the White House is deploying frontline combat troops to the southern border.
Every time you enter this country illegally, you violated a crime under Title 8, United States Code 1325. It's a crime. So if you're in the country illegally, you got a problem.
And the plan is to make as much immigration illegal as possible. That's why they're axing birthright citizenship. Let's read the comments. It's a strange world where being flown back to your country in an airplane paid for by the country you tried to illegally enter is somehow inhumane. Top comment. So the Colombians think they are tourists, not illegal immigrants. What would be inhumane would be to make them go back in the same manner in which they came. Yes, in Colombia, within minutes reverse course, now the president of Colombia is sending his own planes to pick up his own citizens. Highly effective and well done. Imagine your own country not wanting you. These aren't migrates, homie. Came to the U.S. illegally and now complaining they are being flown back safely? He's not treating them like criminals, but as criminals. Sounds like their own country doesn't want to deal with them. Degrading. Our soldiers fly in those planes. Not even their own countries will take them back, but we are supposed to put them into a luxury hotel and pay for all their bills? People don't know this. The reason we sent military planes is it is safer to control them in the air. So criminals don't do bad things, and those military planes need a certain number of flight hours anyway, so it's a lot cheaper. So it's way cheaper. Tariff those countries right away. Do you think this guy who thinks that tariffing these countries is smart knows and did his research and found out it would actually be cheaper to use these military planes? Do you think they made that up out of their ass or heard it somewhere? That's like what I want to know. Do you think they just made that up out on the spot, or did they hear it somewhere and they're repeating it? What do you guys think? I like reading the comments on this to show you guys how overwhelming the response has been positive. Excuse me. How overwhelmingly positive the American people online have been about all these changes. There is no panic. There is no realization of, oh shit, we fucked up. They are loving it so far. These people are getting what they wanted. All right. It seems like most of the comments are just repeating the sentiment that their own countries don't want them, which of course puts a whole lot of belief into the idea that they are correctly identifying who's from where and sending them to where they're meant to go. But okay. Or meant to go, quote unquote, I guess. Like where they supposedly came from. Really quickly, I wanted to show you guys a great clip.
And so
Representative Crockett is quickly becoming my favorite person in the U.S. government. She is like kind of beating out AOC for me. As good as AOC is, I feel like she's better at like passionate speaking, and Jasmine Crockett is like kind of a debate bro. Almost. Like she kind of just like humiliates conservatives. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, I want to show you guys this clip. This is Rep. Jasmine Crockett interrogating Republican on whether or not their talking points about immigration are reality or rhetoric, because he was getting held to account for blatant lies he'd told, and his excuse was, okay, well, it may not exactly be reality, but it's rhetoric. That was his excuse. It's not reality, it's rhetoric. It's not lies, it's rhetoric. And so she asks him, is this reality or rhetoric? And then proceeds to ask him all of the popular conservative talking points. Let's watch his answers. I love this clip.
I want to ask you, my first question, is this rhetoric or reality? Immigrants commit more crimes than U.S. citizens.
On a per capita basis?
Rhetoric or reality?
Oh, it is rhetoric.
Okay, thank you so much. The next one, immigrants are just living off the federal government and contribute nothing.
That would be rhetoric.
Okay, thank you so much. My final rhetoric or reality question is, immigrants only enter at the southern border.
Rhetoric.
Okay, right, because they enter all kinds of ways. I just wanted to make sure that I put that out there. And so I will.
Right there. 3 of the most popular conservative talking points. Getting a conservative under oath, forced to admit it's just bullshit. It's not reality, it's rhetoric. Let me give you guys a little bit of a news headline here. It's either reality or fiction. That is the dichotomy. He had to use the word rhetoric because he could not say the words fiction, made up, fake. So he had to use a copium phrase because he could not, under oath, say that what he said aligns with reality. And this is how they all are. If Trump could be held to account like this, he'd probably be forced to act much the same way. But Trump cannot be held to account in the same way that that fucker can. And I want to be very clear here. I don't know what's going to happen. Right now, it seems like the majority of Americans on the internet are cheering about what's happening right now. And I don't know if a point will even come where they start to realize that this is bad. They might just cheer until America burns into ash. But what I know, what I'm going to do is what I know, which is push harder and harder to fight against the rhetoric, or I should say lies, the unreality, that the far right have invested so much time, energy, and money, more important than all, into making the optional reality of the American people. So, with that in mind, if you enjoyed this segment, and if you found it entertaining, educational, or despite the grim subject matter, somehow enjoyable, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Right now, we're trying to build something that can counter the right wing's media domination of the internet. As you can see based on the comments I've been reading from most of these news stories all day, we've got a lot of fucking work to do. So hit that like button, hit that comment button, whether you're watching live or after the fact when this goes out as its own video, then it really does help. It actually forces YouTube to push my content in the algorithm in real time, so I really appreciate it. And of course, finally, or not finally, but if you want to see more from me on not other platforms, but more from me on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so that YouTube tells you when I go live or upload new videos. And if you want to see more from me on other platforms, be sure to follow my social medias linked down below in the description, particularly my Blue Sky and join my fan Discord as well. That's probably where I'm the most active and my community is the most present, I suppose. And finally, if you want to support the stream directly, financially, through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, StreamElements, Patreon, or through my website, I really do appreciate it. It helps immensely to keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, so I really do appreciate it. But as always, I hope you all have a good one.